Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about those days because
Oh gosh.
I just started recording, by the way.
Okay.
You and I, besides a lot of our views that we have in common, we have something in common that you would be surprised about, actually.
Were you a spoken word poet?
No, you and I were technically in the same scene in Insecure together. Yeah.
You were an extra or you were what?
I
Explain.
was an extra. It was season 2, episode 8. Something Perspective was the name of the episode. And
Season 2, episode.
the marathon race.
I was about to say that's the marathon.
Yeah. So the scene where you're talking to your friend who's on her period and she's on the stretcher.
Uh-huh.
Behind you, I am like 200 feet behind you.
What?
In the bleachers. True story. Yeah. I never saw the show. Didn't even know what show it was. I just, whatever.
How'd you end up there?
Central casting. I was doing background acting back then before I started to get into directing myself, and I launched a really expensive 4-year feature film project that I wrote a huge script called Black Girl Down. It was about it's a girl about it's a movie about child sex trafficking, and it was about a Black girl who gets kidnapped by.
You're the most fascinating person I've ever met in my life, and I've met a lot of people.
I have a confusing life story. You're
at least top 5 and not number 5. At least.
I spent $70,000 in 4 years trying to film a feature film. At least $70,000. I had a crew, a casting crew of like 20, at least 20. I had for 4 years I spent on this movie, and it was about a Black girl who gets kidnapped into a basically it's the story of Epstein before Epstein even came out. So I was thinking about suing the Epstein estate for copyright infringement on my movie because he stole my whole plot. Like, true story. It was an Epstein. It was a movie about Epstein. It was about a cult of white supremacist, Freemasonic type of thing, and they kidnap kids, and then they kidnapped into sex trafficking. This is 2017, right? When I wrote the script. I filmed it in the desert.
They were definitely Epsteining in 2017, though.
Oh, way before that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I filmed it on the desert, out in the this ghost town, out on a ranch. Spent 4 years.
Did you have fun doing it?
Oh yeah, I learned so much. I mean, I learned by mistake, trial and error.
At the end of these productions, you're just like, did I have fun? Okay.
I had fun. But the day that I was on the set of Insecure was one of the funnest days of my life. It was it was awesome. I don't know what it was. I think it was the vibe with the people I was sitting with, and we're just joking the whole time. It was kind of hot. And, we're just waiting around. And who would have thought that
Long Beach? Were we in Long Beach?
I believe so. Yeah, it was Long Beach.
Who would have thunk?
And you're like right there. I didn't even see you. Like, there's the banner covering like where you were standing for that scene and where I was. I had no idea what this show was even about. And I'm just sitting there having a good time with the people around me.
Kerry Washington directed that episode.
Did she? Oh, okay. And then so I went back on HBO to like look for the episode, and I screen recorded. I can't upload it, but I was like, I'm right behind her. Who would have thought years later you and I would be in a revolutionary space together,
exactly,
trying to save the world,
right? Trying to at least save some of these minds. I mean, it's interesting because that was not really that long ago, for what it's worth. I mean, it's less. That was what, 2018, maybe
2017. No, that was 2017 when 2017 that scene was filmed.
Okay,
yeah.
And I feel like that's like 6 lifetimes ago. Like, I'm trying to think about where so actually 2017 was when I got invited to this dinner that Katy Perry was doing for her album Witness, and she had voted for Hillary Clinton and her parents voted for Trump, and so she was afraid to go to Thanksgiving dinner because she was like, I don't know how to have these conversations. And so she had this dinner where she invited a bunch of people from different, thought processes, etc. And then they invited me for the sole purpose of, we know everybody's going to be polite. so we want you to come because we know you won't be polite. And I was like, thank you. But they wanted to call it a dinner with friends. And I said, no, because I don't know none of these people. I'll go to it if it's a dinner with discourse. So they were like, okay. So I come to this dinner, and there's a clip that has since gone viral of me checking Caitlyn Jenner at this dinner, because it was at this dinner that I said to the room, which included like Margaret Cho and who else was there? Anna Navarro and Katy Perry, Van Jones. All these people were there. And I was like, Trump is trying to be Hitler. And they were like, how dare you? And it kind of shut me up, because I was like, damn, like I didn't think that was going to be a hot take. And so I got real quiet. And then like Caitlyn was like, I'm very upset. I don't like that you said that, because, this is my country and I am a citizen of this nation and that is our president. And Van was
serious?
Yeah. And Van was the moderator, and he was like, Amanda, do you have anything to say? And I had to really mask. Like that was like, looking back, I realized like, oh, that's when you were like learning how to mask, because the whole dinner I was being myself and everybody was just saying that I was too, I wasn't kumbaya enough. So I had to basically figure out how to like be fake nice about keeping it 100. And I was like, she was like, the country has never been, this country has never been overreaching in my life. Da, da, da. And I was like, I mean, you and I have very different experiences. Like, how can you compare your experience in this country to mine? And I was like, and even as a trans person, like, these people only start caring about you like at 2:00 today. And so someone clipped that and it went viral. And that was when, for a lot of people, it was like, oh, she's not just an actor. Like, she'll keep it 100. And so overnight, my follower count on Twitter, on Instagram, went from like 44,000 to 144,000. And within the month, I got to 1 million.
Isn't that funny how the population detects bullshit and genuineness and honesty, and the system punishes like the celebrity culture is completely flipping on its head. It used to be where celebrity culture was whoever the system put up as a celebrity, and whatever the mainstream media propped up. And if you got canceled by the mainstream media, well, then you're canceled by everybody. Now everything's flipped upside down. If the system is propping you up, then everybody's looking at you with this. And then now people just have a good nose for bullshit. The population. It's a battle.
There's a better nose, because
better nose. Well, that's
I also feel like you might be in a silo, because these people really still love their billionaires. Like, people are still listen, there are still people that are praising Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. But let's talk
about this vape that you got going on. You've been vaping the entire time.
Do you want to know? I'll tell you.
I've been here. I want to know.
Okay. So I have a major addiction to nicotine.
Yes.
And it's going on 20 years. And you know who's to blame for that?
What are we doing with the United States?
No, Palestinians. Palestinians are to blame for my nicotine addiction 20 years ago.
Not
my Palestinian. Remember that story I told you where I walked into their dorm room?
Yeah.
That was the day that my nicotine habit started, and they smoked like a train and I smoked like a train. And I'm sorry, I can't break it. I've tried to break it. I went from like a pack and a half of cigarettes a day to vaping. So that's somewhat of
vaping is just as bad, if not worse.
I know, I've heard that, but at least like, I don't know, the tar isn't there. I don't know. Like,
is it nicotine specifically that you're addicted to?
Absolutely. It's the nicotine. Now I've gotten the gum, but like I'll chew that in like 30 minutes and it's done. Like this is my way of coping. This is my way of
hypnosis?
No, haven't done that. Why, you got any suggestions?
I'm just trying to think, because I'm watching you kill yourself. I'm watching you puff this daggone vape. I'm like, if it takes one more toke, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something if it takes one more toke.
On the flip side, I don't drink alcohol, I've never drank alcohol in my life, so it's like I'm balancing.
The
Like,
nego-
okay,
the
like I'm throwing
negotiation.
away one part of my
However,
body,
I
but
don't
I'm
do
like gaining
heroin.
I'm gaining my
I
liver, but I'm throwing my lungs away.
Fair. I saw a podcast where these two white girls are talking, and one of them is like, so you can't function on crack. And she was like, no, I did function on crack for a little bit. And she literally is sitting here talking about how she used to do crack while she was a dental hygienist and would lie and tell the dentist, oh, I'm cleaning out I'm organizing the closet, so she could go in the closet and smoke crack.
You would be. So I used to work in the hospital system, right? Medical field. And I worked closely with OR doctors and things like that. Let me tell you something.
I'm not surprised.
You'd be surprised how many
I'm
OR.
not. Let me tell you why I'm not surprised. Because I have an ex who used to sell coke at a time in his life. And he was like, I never had to go to the hood. I would go to the medical complex. He was like, I would have my backpack and I would literally just go. There was 2 medical complexes next to each other. He was like, I would just do my run and go home.
The hospital systems run on coke. Like the surgeons, they will do blow in their locker room, and then
that's how they do these 36-hour surgeries.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I shouldn't say this like publicly, but like, shit. I'm gonna cut that out. I'm gonna cut that out. Okay,
why?
I gotta cut that out.
Are you still addicted to that?
What's the timestamp for this? This is 11:43.
I have a knack for people saying shit that they've never said before.
Yeah, you do. You must have it.
I remember when I was interviewing Raphael Sadiq, and we were doing an episode on addiction because his new album at the time was about addiction. And in the middle of the episode, he was talking about doing E, and then he was like, I was addicted to ecstasy. I've never said that out loud before. I was like, here we are. He was like, I would find ecstasy like in my jacket pockets. That's addiction. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
So to the Fed agents that are assigned to Colonial Outcast to spy on us. All right. You got me.
I genuinely feel like, I was just also afraid of, like, I never smoked a cigarette in my life because DARE worked for me. So shout out to Nancy Reagan. She won on that front. DARE to keep kids off drugs. I was like, point taken, say less.
That's good. Yeah. I wish I could say that. But like my parents, they were like 3rd generation non-drinkers. They taught me not to do a lot of things, right? Because my dad comes from that Amish heritage, that Amish Quaker side. So, he's a long time generation non-drinker. I told myself, okay, I'm going to be violating a lot of things my parents told me not to do, but I'm going to keep one thing to honor my parents, and that is I'm not going to drink. And I'm missing out on a whole section of society by not doing that. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I know myself. I have an addictive personality. If I taste alcohol and I like it, my life is done. So I'm like, you know what? And my Palestinian friends, my Muslim friends were impressed. They're like, you've never drank. I thought all Americans drink. Like, we mostly do, but like, I don't. So a lot of Palestinians are surprised that I don't drink. So I find a lot of camaraderie with Muslims with that. It's like, I feel like it's great, so,
Yeah, I don't drink.
But they did get me addicted to nicotine. I will say that. Palestinian culture, I call it the 5 pillars of Palestinian culture. It's faith, family, food, soccer, and cigarettes. That's the 5 pillars of that's what it is. And foreigners are the other pillar. They love foreigners. Anybody who's a stranger from out of town, they'll like drag you in their house
where you go home. Take our story back wherever you're going. Yes.
Yeah, they will take you in their house, give you tea till you're red in the face, feed you, and
they're like, they're basically having to campaign their humanity to anyone who will come through. Like, we're showing you that we're not what they say we are. Take that back. Like, we really are not that.
It's a duty for them. Like, it's a duty. Like, if you're not like that, then you're really not Palestinian. You're like, who are you? You're like you have, that's part of like deeply ingrained for thousands of years. They're not changing shit. And I love that.
So I talk about that. I talk about a version of that in What Would the Ancestors Say? Because when I, started speaking up for Palestine, in a larger way post October 7th, the way that folks started coming to my shows and really showing up like 7 deep with their Palestinian squads and their Lebanese squads. And they'd be like, Habibti, we love you. I was doing stand-up at the time, and I had to like add in content for my new Muslim and Arab audience. So I would talk about like my stepmother who's Palestinian, and how when I was younger, you know, she would cook stuff for me, and I'd be like, lady, what is this? What are we doing here? And now that I'm older, I'm like, please, can you make that?
Oh my God.
No, to my sister now. My sister's the one who's the cook now. So she like came over and made makluba, and, you know, she definitely has kept the Palestinian culture alive on that side of the family. So, you know, you're not, I have lived where you're talking about, also because my Palestinian folks would come to my shows and always bring gifts, and not just bootleg gifts. Okay, like they're rolling up to the meet and greet with a bottle of olive oil from Palestine. You're like,
oh,
what?
that's the best tasting olive oil in the world. Like,
Yes.
I can't get olive oil like that in the grocery store. It sucks.
No, you cannot.
Once you try it, you're like, once you eat Palestinian food, like from Palestinians, and then you try to go to one of these Mediterranean restaurants, it doesn't hit the same way. And yeah, it sucks. And that's one of the biggest, that and Korean food, like Korean food and Palestinian food, I can't get good shit here in where I live, you know. Chicago, holy shit. Chicago is the scene for Palestinian food. You go to Chicago, there's a whole town. When I went there to give a speech for a fundraiser, there's a whole town in Chicago that's like Palestine town or something, and it's like all mom and pop Palestinian
like a
food.
little Palestine
vibe. And it has mom and pop stores
like
you would have in Palestine. I'm like, damn, I never knew that about Chicago. So.
I didn't either. Okay. Well, I'll be in Chicago on this book tour on November 12th. So
yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I mean, by the way, I forgot to do the intro. We're like 16 minutes deep in this, and I didn't do the intro. Let me get this intro out of the way, all right? Okay. All right. What up, family? Welcome back to Colonial Outcast. Trying to get our engine started back up after a month-long hiatus. A lot of lava under the bridge since our last episode. Too much to even know where to start. But I can't think of anyone better to help me sort out everything that's going on in my brain that's been happening better than Amanda Seales. The non-ceasefire that is being broken every single day is constantly in our faces and showing Americans that all the facade of any type of international order is what it is. It's just it's a clown and pony show. Here's just a few of the latest and by the way, this list is just a fraction of what's going on out of Gaza. A third child was injured by Israeli military gunfire near Al-Zara bus station in Shujaiya neighborhood east of Gaza City. A number of people, including children, were injured and taken to the Baptist hospital in Gaza City after an Israeli drone targeted at a wedding party inside Al-Zara school in Shujaiya neighborhood east of the city. Yesterday alone, new violation by the occupation. Israeli warships target the beach of Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza Strip. Israeli artillery shelling targets the town of Abasan east of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. A Palestinian is wounded by Israeli occupation forces east of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. And Israeli occupation forces fire tear gas and stun grenades to and prevent residents from returning to their lands in the towns of Idna, west of Hebron in the southern West Bank. Hebron is one of my favorite cities. It's actually the first time I ever met a Hamas member actually in Hebron. He's the nicest guy in the world. He gave me a tour of all of Jericho, and he was in prison for 10 years for spray painting graffiti. In prison for terrorism. His name is Hytham. If anybody knows who that guy is, find him. I want to contact him. I haven't talked to him in years. Also, check out the official Colonial Outcast website, colonialoutcast.com. Currently in its beta phase. The merch is back online. Finally, I know y'all have been asking about that in case you want to help us expand our operations and piss off your liberal friends at the same time. But more importantly, check out Amanda Seales' show, and her link to her website is also on our website in the Our Alliances page. You will see her icon on there. And also there's some, but I want to call attention to our resource repository page where you can download a guide on how to use old World War II era counterintelligence techniques that are actually very effective against big tech surveillance if used as a community effort. A guide on websites that track and reports ICE activities, a guide on how you can deprogram liberals if that's even possible, our Alliances page. So that out of the way. So I had a whole plan for this episode. But I went on Instagram and saw a video you posted of Maria Corina Machado, and I had to take a dive in. I had a plan, Amanda. Like I had this whole thing planned out, and then I saw I saw a video of you on Instagram, and I'm like, damn, I gotta go into that too. Like I can't not talk about Venezuela. But before I get to Venezuela, let's talk about your tour, because I will be seeing you in Los Angeles Saturday, and I'm excited.
Really?
Yeah. So I will be there, fam. If y'all, I'm gonna be showing up for Amanda on Saturday.
Well, we sold out of those tickets. So we did. So the LA show. Wait, you never bought a ticket?
I didn't know I didn't know how it works. I'm not good at buying tickets online.
You didn't know how it works. I've promoted this every day, all day for the past 3 weeks. I am doing a live stream show in LA. Get your in-studio tickets to be there. Now, because I'm here, of course, I will make sure that you get in. But you're over here talking about like, yeah, come through, y'all.
No.
Because listen,
that's so typical of me. I'll be talking about something and then like forget the technical aspects of it.
So here's the thing. The difference with LA is that it's an actual live stream recording of What Would the Ancestors Say and a book release. Whereas the other cities that I'm going to are now see, I should have given you the proper assets, because I didn't even think about assets to give you, but I have them. But basically, What Would the Ancestors Say started as a one-woman show for the last year, and it started because the Zionists had effectively prevented me from doing my stand-up tour, and I realized like I couldn't fight them because they were just silent enemies. I mean, they get in the way of your shows. They get your shows canceled. They fried my tickets buying site so people couldn't buy tickets. So it was like, how do I continue?
How did they do that?
I have no idea, but it happened.
They fried it?
People could not buy tickets.
Wow.
Every time people would try to buy tickets. I've been touring for 11 years. That has never, ever happened. All of a sudden, and everyone I spoke to was like, oh yeah, that's them.
You know, anybody in any other age or any other situation, they would see these like actions as national security threats with a foreign entity interfering with so just putting that out there.
So like even like Eventbrite, I found out is Zio owned, and they've been on some weird stuff lately. And we put up the tour dates for this, the book tour, and people could not buy tickets. Everybody's card was being declined.
Sounds about right, though.
And the tickets were only for this live stream. And I have to say, I hate selling tickets. I hate it so much. So the live stream, though, at the end of the day, was an opportunity for me to do the live show. And I also have to pay, like, as you know, the production cost of things is not light. So you are paying for the cost of production. Now the live stream tickets are available. It's just the in-studio tickets are no longer available, but you can watch the live stream on November 8th. And if you aren't able to watch it on November 8th, then you can actually see it for the next 3 days. If you buy it for that date, then there's also going to be a link available after the show that allows you to watch it for the next 3 days. Then there will also be an ability for you to subscribe to my Patreon and be able to watch it whenever you want. The thing about doing,
and we will be posting the links for all that in the description.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I realized, though, when I was performing the show over the course of a year, that it wasn't enough for me to just perform it as a one-woman show, that I was going to need to put it on paper. And that was not the original plan. I wasn't originally going to put it on paper. I am a theatrical performer, so it was natural that I would do theater. And for what it's worth, coming out of all the Zio BS, and there was a whole lot of other efforts by the Democrats, et cetera, to smear my voice over the course of 2024, over the campaign, over Kamala Harris, et cetera. It was time for me to come back to doing something authentic. Because as you stated, the TV Hollywood world, et cetera, is you always making things for the purpose of commerce versus necessarily making things because it feels artistically necessary for you to do it.
Yeah.
In this case, it didn't just feel artistically necessary. It felt radically necessary. It felt, it felt humanistically necessary for me to contribute at a time where we are watching a very consistent, collaborated, coordinated effort at disinformation, at psyops, at erasure. And the more that you learn, the more you understand this is one, not new. And this is two, very effective. And three, it is beyond simply just white Americans. This has been effective across cultures, ethnicities, etc. As a Black person, I got to see how many of my folks have been colonized by this PSYOPs campaign that's been going on, I would say, since World War II, but really ramped up after Reagan. And I now then feel like it is 100% my responsibility to shift my energy from celebrity and fame. Not that it was ever my energy, but that was the world I was in. And I left that world and disengaged from it. I divested from celebrity, as I like to say. And I decided, okay, we need to just do edutainment. Yeah. And in May of this year, I had a memoir that was at Simon & Schuster that was supposed to come out this week. And in May of this year, I ended up deciding to buy it back from Simon & Schuster when my editor revealed through her edits that she was a Zionist, that she was a hater. And also when they told me I needed to cut half of my book because they were like, well, your contract is only for 75,000 words and you wrote 150,000 words. So you need to cut 75,000 words in 4 days. And the bigger thing there, though, becomes how can I write what needs to be written? How can I elevate and educate in the way that needs to happen if I am still continuously tethered to this corporate framework? You can't.
It's not possible. You're plugged into the matrix.
You're just, is what it is. Yep. And it's like, you think, well, I'm just going to write this book with them and then I'll move on and do some other stuff. But no, you're now forever connected to them. The book is the baby. Right. And so I had to pay for my freedom. And that
how did it feel though? Like, as far as your mental health, your emotional health, how much better was it once you did that though? Like,
it was really, honestly, I feel very fortunate to have had the funds to do so. I mean, I definitely don't know how long it will take to make that back, but it was very liberating to not only do it and be able to do it, but then also to know that I'm not stuck. And I'm not stuck because of people like you, because of this other jet stream of information finders and humanitarian individuals and creatives that is been moving, that I just had to slide back in like the turtles on Nemo. Like, that was essentially what I really didn't realize I had been actually disengaged from. So the path, for everyone listening, like, the path is there. We get taken off the path, we get distracted, we get pulled off the path, etc. The path doesn't move. The path is still there. It's just finding your way back. And a lot of times it comes by releasing that which is holding you back from it, right? And so, like, the book was kind of the book was, I would say, the last tether holding me from being able to get in flow, right? And once I let go of the book, a month later, it was like, oh, you still need to put a book out this year. Like that, you still need to contribute to the canon. And I said, I'm going to write What Would the Ancestors Say? And in writing it was very different than just performing it. I thought, oh, I'm going to just transcribe it. It'll be fine. No. Because once you start, so here's the thing, Mark, I'm not really showing it off here, but I'm actually a very funny gal.
Oh, I know.
And so I can get away with
a lot. The first time, like, I only found out about you because of your first interview with Greg years ago, like when he was talking about like
2023. He's talking about Vietnam.
Yeah, the Vietnam
War.
activism.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who's this Amanda Seales? And then I started watching your style, and I'm like, I have never seen a style like this, a podcast. Like, she's funny, it's goofy, and it's educational and it's enlightening. I'm like, this is like, and it like my brain was popping with ideas. I'm like, this is the format right here. Like, this is how you infect like the population with enlightenment and with deprogramming and with decolonization, you have to add all the elements of like hanging out with your
Singing,
friends,
hanging.
all
Yes.
of that. And then it's like then it just spreads to little corners that you never would have gotten information. Because what I
I
hate
know.
about like a lot of podcasts, and even the way that we've done it sometimes, is like it's so formatted, it's so academic. It's like, dude,
Mm,
like, you want to reach people, be fucking human. Like, think out loud. Like, have a like don't act like
right.
you're sitting up giving a
Yes.
lecture.
Be
Like,
willing to air, you know,
yeah,
like,
be human. Like, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna say some things, but it's like, just be that, like,
but they make it hard. I mean, to be quite honest, I get why folks are like that, because this internet doesn't allow you to philosophize. And that so much of a philosophy is you just talking things through, right? Getting something out of
yeah,
your head and trying to like figure it out. Like, well, I
literally
could
thinking out loud in
do
front of
that.
people.
Yes. And
It
then the
makes the audience feel normal. They're
the
like, they
energy,
don't
they bring
feel
it back,
inferior. Yeah.
that part. And so I mean, if I'm honest, it was that I got kicked out of the spaces that I was in before. I don't know that I would have like consciously walked out of them. I got
Mhm.
kicked out of them by being this kind of person, right? Who is very ardent and earnest about
Yep.
justice, about honesty. I don't, once I see a lie, I'm like, whoa, 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 they're lying, and people don't like that. And so the industry that I was in, I became a liability. I became a liability. And so they basically like ushered me out. And once I really saw how the Dems were complicit and were just were straight up lying about Palestinians and what they were doing in Gaza, I was like, oh, like we have to call this out. And then I became a pariah to the Dems, because it was like, it was more dangerous that I was calling them out than that they were actively aiding and abetting genocide, and have done so many other times that have been, lied about. And so, like, in What Would the Ancestors Say, I am really making it my business to do something very similar to what you're saying about the podcast in text form. I
Yes.
want
Yes.
people to be able to connect with dense ideas and thoughts and facts in ways that are, I don't like the word necessarily palatable, but in ways that are not as stiff as we
Hmm.
typically get. Like nonfiction books are necessary. We need to read them. They have a lot of facts. But if you're someone like me, you can catch on to things very quickly. So you like, oh, I get what they about to do a whole book about this. I get it already. Two, your attention span is trash. My attention span is trash because of perimenopause, because of ADHD, because of being a millennial who's now been on this
Absolutely.
phone. So I
Struggle is
have a
real.
hard time going cover to cover with like a nonfiction that speaks about not just facts, but themes, right? That we need to understand. And so what this book, I feel, will do for a lot of folks is bring them into those conversations in ways that then give them a springboard to then become more detailed, versus when you start reading those books and it gets too dense, you're like, it's too much. It's too much, like I don't feel necessarily set up. And I didn't realize when I wrote it, Mark, but I feel like I came up. It's so cool that you said that you felt like you had seen a new kind of genre,
It
because I
was a
feel
new
like I wrote
format.
a new,
If the,
like I feel right. I wrote a new genre of book.
It was a new format, and it got me fascinated because it's so funny, because I was literally an extra on the show that you were acting in, and I still didn't know who you were or anything about the show. I found out about you because of your podcast.
Good.
And then I started to see your Instagram videos calling out the Democrats. And I'm like, finally, we have somebody in this space who's an anchor and not giving in to the false opposition psyop of the
Well,
Democratic
I
Party.
did that in 2020,
Yeah.
and I did that because I didn't have enough information to know better.
Well, yeah. I mean, I in 2020, let's see, 2020, I was like libertarian. And then I didn't realize,
Okay.
and then I realized that they were full of shit.
Right.
Like the libertarians aren't really libertarians. They're just
No.
like they're an
They're just
arm
like,
of
we want to be racist on our own time.
yeah, totally co-opted by Sarah Palin and the Tea Party movement. Like
Yeah.
libertarianism is like no state power over our lives. Like that's what it's about. And then now it's like full state power over our lives as long as it has .com instead of .gov behind it. Like the fuck? Like this is
Fascinating.
so libertarian, like, so that's when I'm like, all right, I got to find a new political home and I don't know where to go. Not going to the Republicans, definitely not going to the Democrats. I've never been a Democrat, and libertarians are just cucked. So I'm like, I don't have a home. And then I found the Black Panthers. And I'm like, I got a home now. But like at the time, but I saw you putting out a lot of content on Instagram, literally keeping people from going in some weird direction, following after the Democrats. And I'm like, she's lethal. She is very fucking dangerous.
No,
Stay, like this is we need this woman needs to be in like installed in everybody's brain, because I'm telling you, you're an anchor. You've been an anchor in this movement, and anchors are important because anchors are like what keep people from going after the next dangly shiny thing that's going to be a solution offered to them, but it's just full of, it's just a poison pill. It's nothing real. And that's, we have to, it's like a war, constantly fighting that,
I mean, I've had a lot of people come back around or come to me and say, I used to think you were crazy, or I used to feel like you were wrong, or, there's so many I used to's, but then they're like, but then I came back around and you were saying the exact same thing that you were saying, like, and not saying that I hadn't added information, but my grounding, that anchor that you're talking about is always in truth, right? Yep. So even if I gain more information, I'm never coming from a place of manipulating. And that's what I realized the Democrats were doing. And at the beginning of 2020, at the end of 2022, right before like the campaigning starts popping off, right? For the campaign. I remember calling Charlemagne and talking to Roland Martin and or texting him and saying, like, this go round, I think we need to be more honest with people, versus I think they were trying to manipulate people in 2020 by just presenting, like you said, this lesser of two evils rhetoric and not really being honest about the realities of the Democrats, etc. And they were like, yeah. But then fast forward, and they got on board immediately with, no, we need to continue to manipulate people to believe that not only is this the best option, but it's not only is this the only option, it's the best option. Because that was my thing. I was like, if Joe Biden is the best option, like, whatever, but he is not a good option.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
it's look, if like the greater of two evils, the best option, if like these are our option, then the whole system needs to be flipped. Like, and like it's so, and people use this argument, harm reduction.
I hate that term.
And I'm like,
so
no,
much.
It's harm inflation. If you're normalizing the Overton window, shifting towards like, okay, look, you're gonna have to put up with a little bit of genocide if you want to prevent us from falling into fascism here. Make your choice. And I'm like, fuck that. Like, the devil is not going to force me to eat out of his hand. Like, no, I'm gonna overthrow the whole fucking thing, because then where we're going after that, then the next election cycle, it's gonna be some more shit. If you really don't want, like, we might have to massacre a few towns in the United States to prevent us from getting all the towns like enslaved. It's like, dude, this is bullshit.
That's
like,
literally what they're on.
And I'm like, no, you guys, that's harm inflation. That's not harm reduction. And
I feel you.
What I hate so much is whenever, like, people like you and I and other people, vast amounts of people online, are trying their best to bring the working class together, against the system. And so whenever I see somebody repping the blue in opposition to fascism, I'm like, do you realize that you're destroying the hard work that we're doing and uniting people? Because by throwing up the blue flag, now you're signaling to everybody on the right who is starting to come over to this revolutionary side, and they're like, no, you're genocide and you're this or that.
Exactly. And
now you're kicking them away. It's like, dude, if you're going to be
active, don't think that way. They don't think that they're genocide. They don't think, like, I was in the pool today at the YMCA, and this older white lady was like, "Oh, are you new here?" And I was like, "Yeah." We were sharing a lane, and she was like, "Oh, where'd you move from?" And I said, "LA." And so we just started chit-chatting. And I can't remember how we got on the topic of her being a liberal. But I was like, "Yeah, like, that's not cool." She was like, "I'm liberal to the bone." And I was like, "That's nothing to be proud of." And she was like, "Well, I'm very much," no, I know what it is. I said straight up, "I'm a socialist." That's what I said. I said that straight up to her. And she looked at me like, "Oh." And I was like, I can't remember what the context was that I said it in, but I know why. Actually, I do remember. I was like, I left LA and I left Hollywood. And she was like, "Oh, really? Why?" And I said, "Because I'm a socialist, and it's a counterintuitive, counterproductive existence to be in, to be trying to be in a business that only cares about opportunism and that doesn't have any responsibility to the actual people." And she was like, "Oh, well, then you won't like talking to me." And I was like, "Why is that?" And she said, "Well, I am a capitalist." And but she said it with like a weird kind of proud shame. Is there such a thing?
Proud shame. Yeah.
Proud shame.
No. Yeah. Yeah. It's
right?
like subconscious. It's because subconsciously she's ashamed of it, but she's trained mentally to be proud of it. That's what it is. Yeah.
And she's like,
Makes
she
total
was
sense.
like, I'm like, and like even body language wise, she started kind of like swimming away. Mind you, I'm just leaning against the side of the pool. And then she was like, "Well, I mean, I'm a liberal." And so watch this, right? Okay. So I'm like, "Oh, well, I have a book for you to read." And she was like, "No." And I was like, "It's written by Dr. Martin Luther King." And she was like, "Oh, tell me more." I'm like, "I love you so much."
That's what I'm saying is like, that is like, I reaching out to liberals is not my forte.
It's not mine either. I think if I wasn't in a pool, it would have had a very different exchange. I was in a place of calm. I told you at the beginning of the episode, the pool regulates me.
Right wingers, no problem. I can walk into a room full of right wingers. I will own that room in 10 minutes, and they'll be leaving talking like Malcolm X. I just know how to. It's cake for me. But liberals, I don't know. It's a level of psychopathy that I don't know how to deal with. Like if I'm like, "Hey, like Kamala Harris is like approving of bombs being sent to kill lots of children, right?" And they're like, and the response I get from them is like, "Yeah, but like that every administration does that," and they have a smile, and I'm like, that is a whole level of evil that I don't know what to do with, because not only do you like, that kids are being bombed and you're okay with it. Whereas somebody on the right, most of the right, not all of them, but like most of the right wing average working class is just ignorant. They don't know what the fuck's going on because they're being fed lies all the time by politicians.
Yes.
And I'm like, that Israel's killing lots of babies, right? Here's the evidence. They're like, "Oh shit. Man, fuck that. That's evil, man. That's but no, that's average." And I'm like, see, I can forgive ignorance. I can forgive stupid.
Yes,
I cannot forgive somebody who knows, who's fully privy of what's going on in Palestine, and they're still like trying to rationalize in their mind and justify it, because that's dangerous. That's deadly, because that means that you can never trust them in anything else.
So it's interesting how you brought it around to that, because she was like, "Well, we can have different opinions." And I said, "No, we can't." And she looked shocked at that. And I was like, because opinions become actions. If opinions just existed in silos, then yes, we would all be entitled to our opinions and could live a happy, healthy life. However, opinions inform the actions that people take. So if your opinion is that you don't feel like an entire group of people matters, then you are going to do actions that completely disregard them. And those opinions can harm. And it looked like she had that had never occurred to her.
Yes,
it literally had never occurred to her. And she got saved by the bell, because the lifeguard was like, "Hey, are you guys done? Because Janice wants to get in." And she was like, "Oh, okay." It's like, thanks, Janice.
That's good to know. I mean, I never thought about like quoting Martin Luther King to liberals as like a way of like maybe reaching them. I don't know. That's a good idea.
He literally, in his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Community or Chaos? He basically is like, not basically, he says verbatim, liberals are worse than the KKK.
Yeah.
He talks about the fact that
I mean, I knew Malcolm said that. I didn't know that. I didn't know Martin Luther
MLK
King
said that. I don't even know if Malcolm said that. Martin Luther King said, "I will take a KKK over." I know Malcolm definitely is like, fuck these liberals, but definitely Dr. Martin Luther King, by the time he
didn't know that,
because by the time he was assassinated, they had passed the Civil Rights Act. They had passed the Voting Rights Act. And he's like, okay, so that happened. And I thought that was the goal. Mm-hmm. And then here we are 2 years later, and they're still lynching folks. Mm-hmm. The people the black people they had put in different positions of government, et cetera, across the nation have been removed. Does this sound familiar? This is BLM all over again, by the way. So essentially, the civil rights movement is similar to BLM timing wise. Then, and I talk about this in the book, I call them the here nigga damn laws, because they basically always give black people these laws that are supposed to satiate us, but they do so begrudgingly. And it's like, here nigga damn. So I go through a series of the laws that were provided in this way that actively, by the way, the Civil Rights Act, the Housing Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, all of these acts were simply just put in place to actualize the rights that were already given to us through the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Those amendments are what gave black people the right to fair housing, the right to voting, the right
there shouldn't have had to have been any civil rights.
There shouldn't have had to be a civil rights movement. And so these acts were basically the federal government saying, okay, fine, we will create perimeters of protection in these ways. So now these happen, and the same way that we had like Juneteenth, right? And these things that were put in place after BLM, now we are a few years later, they've painted over all of the BLM-ness. They've gotten rid of DEI. They've undercut affirmative action. They've removed all the black people, essentially from these cabinets, et cetera. You know, they fired all these, they furloughed all of these. Well, they have fired and furloughed all these federal workers. 300,000 of the federal workers that were fired were black women. Mm-hmm. So Martin Luther King was like, this was pointless, because he was like, I realize now that changing the law didn't change the hearts and minds of the people of the United States. And no amount of changing laws, he was like, I realized that no amount of changing laws was going to do that. And he was like, the reason why liberals are the biggest impediment is because they would rather have order than the discomfort required for change.
Yeah. And like subconsciously many, like here's my, like an analysis I gave of liberals with Socialista Champagne, who's in Portugal, and she's an influencer. And she was, I kind of broke it down. I know this is oversimplifying, but I broke it down to like two categories of liberals. You have liberals who are actually like at heart leftist, but they think that they're liberals, but they're really not.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are ignorant. Like they're genuine people, but they don't have any good guidance.
That's who I was.
And then you have what I call your alpha liberals. These are your genuine psychopaths.
Yes.
They are evil to the core, but they do care about aesthetics, and they put on a great facade.
There you go.
They will
Hillary Clinton.
They will slaughter your family if it was convenient for them, if you made the money. And then they would act like, oh my gosh, it was like these other horrible people. But those alpha liberals are in the leadership position over the ignorant liberals, because the ignorant liberals, they want direction. Like, okay, there's injustice. What do I do? The alpha liberal comes along and be like, follow me. Yep. I got a door for you. Walk in this door.
Pelosi, Schumer,
Hillary Clinton, Obama, Chuck Schumer, you name it. Like all these they're predators. They're predators. They're preying on the good-hearted liberals who are actually leftist, which is why people like you are so important, because you're there to stand in the way between them and the predators and be like, look, don't follow that guy. You don't want to go down in that door that he's trying to lead you. He's a predator.
I'm trying to provide other options. I'm literally just walking in the direction that I went in, right?
Yes.
Because I was working with what I had, which was what was presented to me by mainstream media, which is that the only real options are being a Democrat or a Republican. I know I'm not a Republican. All the Black people around me are Democrats. The Black women that I've been told are the smart ones that know what they're talking about are all Democrats. And I'm looking at that and just deducing that that makes the most sense. But I was afraid of politics, to be quite honest. I was afraid of politics because I felt like it was just so overarching and oversweeping that I wouldn't be able to fully grasp it without getting eaten alive by it.
That part, like, I'll tell you, no, what you just said 2 years ago when I really wanted to stand up for Palestine publicly. But I was like, dude, if I go out there, I'm going to get eaten alive by liberals, right wingers, left wingers, Zionists, everybody. Like the academic left is going to be, who the fuck is this redneck dude? Like, who's this bro? And then I found Greg. I found a video that Greg posted on TikTok. This is before Greg was big. He had like 2,000 followers. And I'm like, okay, who's this motherfucker? And I'm like, I like his vibe.
I watched Greg get big.
Yeah,
Greg just kind of stumbled across. I was like, "Who's this white man talking like this into this camera in this grassy knoll?"
He said that he said this. He made this video where it's like, "Hey, if you're a combat vet and you're in this, we're 90 days in. If you're a combat vet and you're not on the side of Palestine, you need to fix yourself," something like that. And he said, "Look, it's cool. We've all been there. We've all been propagandized. Come on over." And I said, "Dude, that's the dude I want to go to. I want to go to war with that guy. I am not going to battle unless I have a fellow veteran with me because I'm going to get eaten alive. I'm going with him." I reached out to him, sent him a comment. "Hey, you want to start a podcast?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." We called each other, and then
that's how y'all started the podcast.
Yeah. And then he got busy because he was managing a restaurant, so he wasn't able to call me back. Finally, we got in touch, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get this done." And then he just blew up on Instagram because he picked a fight with some IDF soldier who was also a plug to try to convince veterans to be on the side of Israel. He went to bat with him, like he freaking, and they did a clapback battle, and Greg won, and then he blew up. Naturally. And I'm like, dude, can we start this podcast already? Yeah! Like, you got a following, bro. Like, don't rely on Instagram, bro. They could shut down your Instagram, and then you're fucked.
Yeah.
And then he said, "All right, we'll get this going." We figured out the technical aspects, and we launched, and then it was a successful launch. And then I came to find out that you're an anarchist too. Like, no fucking, like, we had so much in common that I didn't even know. I was just like, we're discovering all these things about each other. And I'm like, dude, if I hadn't ran across Greg, I don't know if I would have joined in the fight, because I'm like, dude, I'm going to get canceled. Like, nobody's going to listen to my ass. Like, definitely not. Not the way that I talk, not my style. No, it's not going to work. So,
I mean, I feel like why do you feel that way?
I mean, just like, okay, first you got liberals, right? And you and I already covered that part. But like, then you have the academic left. Now, the American left likes to see itself as revolutionary. But the problem with the American left is that they're all about aesthetics, man. Like, that's the problem. Like, American leftism, like, yeah, sure, they read Marx, they read all revolutionary thought processes, but there's been this, because of capitalism, it's turned leftism into an aesthetic. Like, you got to dress like a leftist, you got to sound like a leftist, you got to be academically astute with these books, and it's become more about that than actual fucking action.
It's when true. I'm like, it's the theory, and you need to be able to keep up with.
And I get the theory part; it's good,
necessary.
It's necessary. But I'm like,
yes, and
the revolutions in Cuba, in the Soviet Union, in Algeria. Those were rednecks who did that shit. And what I mean by rednecks, those were like your gritty motherfuckers who they were rough around the edges. They weren't like sitting there with like a button-up shirt underneath a freaking sweater.
So this
in an armchair.
And former Panther, Joy James, I went to a book talk with her a few months ago, and she talks about this, that she's, in academia now. And she's like, but I was a Panther. Like, I was on patrol protecting.
Yeah.
She was like, I was on patrol in, I think, Oman or something, like protecting Angela Davis. So she was like, I find that there's a lot of times conversations being had from a place of theory. And then I'll be like, well, yeah, but from being in the actual situation, it doesn't really look like that. And then people are like, oh, stop.
Yep. Dude, that's what the Black Panthers did. They were finally able, like Huey P. Newton, if you follow his journey, he got pissed off because he was in this AAA, which was like African something association. I don't know what it was, but it was like a very academic, it was a black nationalist type of academia program in school. But he was noticing that, dude, these are bourgeois blacks. Like, they're only about theory. And he was like, we're not connecting to the streets. Like, yeah, all this theory is good and correct, but what are you doing for the streets? So he's like, you know what? We need to connect theory with praxis. And because like what to do is not written in a book. You don't know what to do until you're on the streets. And that's where they merged the two. And that's what made him so lethal, because it took it beyond the library.
But a lot of people feel like they're just wanting to be affirmed in whatever they believe. And so like if the books affirm it, then that's enough, right? And I could definitely say that I feel like I am in a phase right now where I am being pushed to go beyond the books, right? Like I realized that, and I'm not sure what that even looks like, to be quite honest, but I realized that
a beret.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if I just started wearing a beret?
No. Could you imagine if Amanda Seales was like, man, Mark is so cool, I want to join the Black Panthers too?
I don't want to join anything. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm too much of just a weirdo, to be quite honest. Now, I will support multiple organizations, but once there's rules, Mark, I'm like, nah, I can't do it.
Who said anything about rules? I didn't even get that. You don't even know what the rules are yet.
I do know that because a friend of mine is in another organization, and she was like, "Well," and she's very lit. But she was like, so the organization has decided that we need to do XYZ, and like I'm a part of it, so I have to. And I was like, see, I can't relate. That's why I'm not even. I'm me find me. But I will say this.
I feel you. And by the way, I'm an anarchist. So, like, you gotta understand, like, with me,
I believe I am too.
I compromised a huge part of myself by actually, like,
aligning,
swearing allegiance to an actual organization. Yeah. And I'm like, but you know what? I'm like, you know what? It's compatible with anarchy, because Huey P. Newton's vision of intercommunalism is like the anarchist utopia that anarchists actually think about. It's like interconnected communities that have sovereignty, but they're also under an understanding that we're going to support each other for revolution. So like, I'm like, Huey P. Newton was like, he should be venerated by anarchists because he put actual theory to a practical step-by-step thing. So anyway, there you go.
I mean, I will say, like, when I said like I'm getting out of the books, is because like I realized that, like you're not going on a book tour, like you're going on a mission.
Yes, you are.
And I was like, I woke up yesterday and I was like super disturbed and I couldn't figure out why. And then, sometimes when I feel that, I know it's because like there's a transmission coming, like there's some type of epiphany that's on its way, Amanda. So get ready. And it hit me like, Amanda, you are not where you were before. This is not a stand-up tour. This is not going to do your show, Smart, Funny, and Black. This is not the same. You're not even going out here. You hope you sell books. You hope you bring home income, but that's actually not the goal. If you leave your house with that as the goal, you failed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now you are a merchant. So yes, like you're peddling your wares. However, like you have to understand that, like you said, you're an anchor. The leadership that everyone is talking about, I am one of them. And I have to live in that in a very unabashed way. And I think, there's this other thing that people are afraid that if you call yourself a leader, that you're not being humble. You're also putting a target on your back, et cetera, et cetera. First of all, the ops identify the leaders before the people do all the time. Like because they know, they can see, they got the potential. That's how Fred Hampton ends up being taken out at 21 years old. He was just getting started. Yeah, he was just getting started, but they saw his potential. They saw the efficacy of his work, right? That's why you see George Jackson. George Jackson was being a leader from a cell.
Yep.
He was locked up.
That's the lesson that I feel like we're learning now is decentralization is key. And that's one thing I feel like was a major element in the success of the pro-Palestine movement, because there was millions of leaders. There wasn't like one leader, one organization. You're a leader. Mo Hams Moham's is a leader. Greg Stoker's a
Yes.
leader. Like everybody's
Very
a leader. It's like,
Spartacus. They
and it's like
can't.
you cut off one head, you got like 1,000 growing up. It's like,
Yes.
and we gotta learn from that. We gotta put that into strategy. What we learned in this past 2 years, because everybody's
That
about
is
the
a
doom and
fact.
gloom.
And that's the real deal, is that we are getting to that phase that we never got to after BLM, which is applying that which we've learned into real strategy, into real organizing that has definitive on the ground praxis, like you said. And, so, okay, I'm going to use Hamas as an example, but they're no different than the Panthers in this example.
Yeah.
Organizations have multiple wings. This is why it drives me crazy when people talk about leadership only in one aspect. Organizations will have a military wing. They will have a, medical, right, an intelligence wing, but they'll also have, like, these are the services. We have a services wing, right? Like where we provide services to the people, right? Then they'll have an education wing. This is a very normal, multifaceted way that an organization is set up. That is how Hamas was originally set up. Like, it won that election because it was providing services to the people before.
I was in Palestine when they got elected. This is 2006.
Yeah.
So this is like, as I'm coming out of Zionism, this is when I'm like being deprogrammed by the Palestinians. Yes. I came back to Palestine. I was there for summer of 2005, and I came back the winter of 2006. And this is around the time of the election. And I was asking people what they thought about Hamas. I was asking Israelis. I was asking Palestinians. And what I got is that the reason why the Hamas is beating Fatah is because Fatah was stealing the money. There's the impression that Fatah was stealing the money given to them by humanitarian groups like the UN and whatever. And Hamas was actually building hospitals.
Like, you can see the results.
And you saw the results. Like, people felt loyal to Hamas because they were providing for the people. And like, whoever is providing for the people, actually doing something for the people, it's not enough to be like, hey, we're the vanguard for the Palestinians.
That's
and
it.
You can't just chant shit. You got to be providing services. Like the Black Panthers, they're like, you know what? Instead of just saying that we're against colonialism, against imperialism, and we're going to fight racism, we're actually going to provide people shit while we're fighting. And it's so pivotal that you create that infrastructure while you're fighting a war.
So, like, I see people right now talking about solutions. First of all, electoral politics to me is not a solution, because these people have already figured out how to make it completely muted and castrated, right? So I'm not saying don't participate, whatever, but like, if that's where your like priority energy is, I feel like you're misdirecting your energy.
Absolutely.
When we have seen organizations like the Panthers, the reason why I compared the Panthers and Hamas is not because, they're terrorists. No, it's because they were grown from, like you just said, and like I just said, from providing actual resources to the people that actually informed the people in a way that was not simply just, hey, look at us, we're an organization. Like in Burkina Faso right now, we just had this young lady, Enam Richardson, she actually moved from the United States to Burkina Faso 4 years ago. She's a reporter there, and she reports on what's going on in the Sahel region. And she comes on my show, Views from Amanda Land, which you can watch every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And she joins us once a month, like her and these other, there's like a team of reporters in Africa who will join us to talk about like what's going on in their region. So she joined us this week, and she was like, I know that you guys in the US are very frustrated with everything that's going on there, but I want you to know that there's beautiful things happening in other places. And she was like, in Burkina Faso, we are seeing the results of years of efforts. And I said, well, what efforts? And she was like, people think that Ibrahim Traore like did a coup and came into power and then everything was roses. She was like, no, his was a people's revolution, because people were getting politically educated before he was able to get in that position. If they hadn't been, then he would have gotten that position and no one would have supported him, because they would have still been brainwashed.
Interesting. I never thought about
that. So she was like, this was something that's been happening and it continues to happen. She said that even in the present day, she said that they are continuously providing political education to whoever wants it.
Yeah.
They are also providing training for like construction and things like that to whoever wants it, because they're building the country. Right? She was like, they are building the country. So they provide skills to whoever wants it. And then they provide jobs, because there's an actual infrastructure being built by the people. And no, this is not like communism in the sense that the people aren't necessarily controlling the means of production yet, but they know that they are the means of production. So to a certain extent, they do have control, right? Because it doesn't happen without them. It's not like they're
you have to have practical steps to get there.
Yes.
And that's you can't just be like, all right, hey, everybody just pick a factory and you own it. It's like you're gonna have people who are dentists like, I don't know what to do with this machine.
People were like upset because he had said, this isn't a democracy right now. This is not a democracy right now. Like we're in a
democracy will be rigged. The West will go in there and install their own competing opposition.
They're already doing that. They have militias the same way they have those militias that are now attacking Palestinians. They have those militias in the Sahel states, and they are trying to make it seem like, oh, it's so dangerous in Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso, so that's why we have to go in. And the reality is, no, you are trying to do what you always do, which is create conflict to steal resources. Now you see them over here with Nigeria.
Yep.
And now people are like, oh, well, they're doing that. This is my theory. They're like, well, they're doing that to Nigeria because Nigeria said that they want to have a position on the Security Council in the United Nations. Well, I'm of the mind, because Nigeria's leadership has voiced that they do not support Ibrahim Traoré and what's going on in the Sahel states.
They don't?
No.
Like the population or their leadership?
Their leadership. Their leadership.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out.
Right.
Yeah.
In my mind, the only reason Nigeria would all of a sudden be like, we want to be on the Security Council, is because they feel like they can. That's a ballsy move to just do out the gate. No, that's because there were conversations behind the scenes that made you feel like, you know what? We're about to pull your card. And I believe that I wouldn't even be surprised. And I think this is the other thing that we have to really understand. It doesn't matter your race, nation, or creed, y'all. Folks in power will forfeit the people without the blinking of an eye. Absolutely. If it means keeping them in power. That's Asian folks, that's African folks, that's Kazakhstanian folks, they will do it in the blink of an eye in this time that we're in, right? And so it would not shock me. I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm just saying this is something that I'm considering. It wouldn't shock me that the leadership of Nigeria would be like, okay, US, you can come and like quote unquote invade us so that you can get to the Sahel states.
Yeah,
which are bordering them.
You got to think about it. Like, think about the tools that the West has at their disposal to co-opt anybody, and they'll use a carrot and the stick. They'll go up to you and say, "Hey, we'll kill you if you don't cooperate, or you can become a multimillionaire and you'll live comfortable for the rest of your life and you'll be protected with our protection. Choose. You die, you live safety." I mean, it's not necessarily saying that these leaders are necessarily corrupt. It's just that they're like, what options do they have? Right now, Traoré has been able to protect himself with the loyalty of his people, and that is impressive. That's impressive that you can get to that point of having people so loyal to you that they will create a wall, an iron wall around you. You hear about that guy that showed up in Burkina Faso with a briefcase full of millions of dollars, and he was there to bribe officials to try to find somebody who will assassinate him.
And they were like, "Get out!"
And no. Here's what they did. They set up a sting operation. They're like, "Sure, well, yeah. You know what? Stay right here. We're gonna bring somebody." And then they bring a briefcase and all that stuff. And then they just took the money and arrested his ass. And I'm like, that's what you got to do if you got somebody.
Let's not get emotional. Let's get smart.
Exactly. That you have to be tactical. You can't just be idealistic. You got to be tactical. You got to think like, look, we have to use the CIA. We have to study the shit out of them and find out what tactics they're using, and we have to reverse engineer that shit. And we're thinking so idealistic. We got to start thinking more tactical, like Traoré did. Now, I am worried about Russia with Traoré. I'm worried that Russia is gonna pull. Like, I don't trust Putin in Russia, and because not for the Western purposes, not for their propaganda purposes, but for the fact that Putin. He's co-optable too. We don't know what kind of deals he's making behind closed doors with like Netanyahu and shit. So I'm worried about Traore trusting Putin too much because he could double cross him. So I'm worried about that. So
I don't think that these people trust any of these people.
that's good. I hope. Yeah, that's good.
Like,
I want to do. I will go to Burkina Faso if I can. If I can get a hold of somebody in there, so I can interview somebody there, I would love to. So hey, shout out anybody in the comments knows anybody who knows somebody. I would love to take a trip there.
I believe that basically all they're doing is playing white people against white people. That's what it looks like to me. They like, oh, that white man in the United States do not like that white man in Russia. So
it's about time that happens.
Go get the white man in Russia because we know it's going to piss y'all off, but we already know what we on. That's what I get. That's what I'm gathering from this situation.
That's funny.
Because that's what Trump thought he was doing with Putin against China. Like he thought,
putting them against each other.
Like I think he thought, look at us, we're over here. Like we're not gonna go over there with them. And Putin's like, I mean, we gotta have a whole thing going on, and we don't like you. Like we genuinely don't like you.
That would be the stupidest thing in the world if Russia double crossed China. I'm just gonna say that right now. They'd be idiots if they did that.
But you see, these conversations, these geopolitical conversations these were the things this is what when I meant by like, I was afraid to get into politics. I afraid it would eat me up. It's like, I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to keep up. That's what I felt like I didn't have the capacity. Like I didn't have the capability, the intellectual ability to even play, not play is not the word, but even to participate in these conversations. And then what I came to understand was that the fact that my values are so sturdy, that's what I'm building on with this information. And so when you're learning new information in these spaces, it's actually a lot easier to understand than you think if your values of humanitarianism, if your values of honesty are very sturdy, because you're able to identify things much quicker.
Exactly. It's like your values are like an analyzer. Like for example, in
a filter,
And yeah, in the medical world, you get a sample, you put in the analyzer, and it analyzes it and be like, okay, I can see what's right and wrong here.
Yes,
that's why it's so important to have those
perfect analogy. Yes.
Yeah. No.
Because like with Palestine, I don't need to have geopolitical knowledge to understand when I'm presented with right and wrong. And then but because I want to be able to have more conversations and I want to be able to have the facts, etc. Then you expound upon that by reading and listening and watching documentaries, etc. So I hope whoever's listening here that is like still kind of coming into this space, that you feel encouraged. Please be encouraged, because we need to have more people thinking in a geopolitical context, not just an American context. I tell people all the time, if the folks you're getting your information from are only giving it to you within the context of the United States, they're not it. Because we as a country do not exist in a silo. We actually are everywhere, and we are causing issues everywhere. Like the lady in the pool today, she said something about the United States. And I said, the United States, she was like, she was like, oh, I watched an interview with Mark Levine about why America is the best place to live. And I was like, the United States is literally ruining the world. And she was like,
you brought up Mark Levine. It's funny. I had a video prepped with him on our discussion.
That's what she was like, well, I said, where was he on? She was like, well, you probably don't watch it. And I was like, and she said Fox. And I just took a deep breath. And I was like, ultimately the United States behaves as if it is the only country that deserves to live a certain way, even though the vast majority of its country does not live that way.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like Americans get offended when you attack like the United States and what we're doing. It's like, you're talking about my country. I'm like, listen, stop fucking. Who's we?
It's like when you call customer service and they're like, we. I'm like, your last name isn't Wall.
Yeah, you're not. Do you own BlackRock? Are you a billionaire? Do you own like 30% stocks in BlackRock? And stop saying we. Stop connecting yourself with like, oh, America's making a very strategic move in the Middle East that will help our economy. Like, no, it's not. It's going to help the billionaires. You're not going to benefit from it. Like, stop seeing these W's that America makes in these
As
deals
you.
overseas as you.
That's the
Like,
psyop. That is the
yes,
psyop.
that's nationalism. So nationalism is one of the most effective psyops, and I'm glad we're getting into this because when I was on your show, we opened up a lot of cans of worms that I don't feel like we thoroughly exhausted because of time constraints. But I feel like this is an opportunity to go through that because we brought up a lot of good things. You asked me, how is it that you can be a nationalist but not racist? And that opened up a whole thought process because it's a really good question. Nationalism and racism are definitely cousins. However, here's the interesting thing about nationalism. Nationalism can use racial unity as one of its tools.
Which it does right now.
Yeah, post 9/11. What did you see after 9/11? Out of many, one. We may have disagreements, but when we're attacked from the outside, we come together and we whoop ass, blah, blah, all that.
Dangerous.
Racial unity is just as much as a tool of empire as racial division. When it doesn't need racial unity anymore, it'll cut that off and start the new operation of racial division. It depends on what it needs. It's just it's a tool. It's like, okay, I need some racial unity now. Let's grab everybody together. Let's hold hands to sing kumbaya because we need to invade another country. So that's how nationalism and racism can diverge from each other, and they can come back into each other. They can diverge and come back in. It depends on what the empire needs. And so evangelicalism has a lot of racial unity in it. In fact, I grew up in churches where racism was very bad. Like it was considered very bad. It was stigmatized completely. If you're racist in the church, you might get kicked out. Okay. But it was so that the empire can spread evangelicalism throughout the world.
Yes.
And to preach to the world that America's version of Christianity is superior, and therefore America is superior. And therefore, if the United States wants to colonize you, it's a good thing because Jesus wants it. So that's so
diabolical.
It is, but like we've simplified our brains too much to not realize that the empire uses all kinds of sexy things to try and get its colonization done. It will use racial unity, you know. Oh, and I wanted to show you because I was telling you about my godfather and my godmother. Mm-hmm. I wanted to show you a little insight into my life because I want you to meet him. Because I pulled up a video of him. This is my godfather. He's a theologian. He has 4 doctorate degrees, and I just want to play it.
Thank you so much, Sister Deborah.
And you earned your doctorate.
Yes, I did.
They weren't honorary doctorates.
No.
You went to school and earned them. Where all did you go? 4 different places, 4 different doctorates.
Yes.
And you came here from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Not as a millionaire. Just starting out. So
yes.
Tell us a little bit about that journey.
The Lord had opened the door there for me to do a
So that's my godfather. He's a great man. I love him.
Well, no, I didn't get to hear him talk. I just heard him talk.
Upon graduation, the Lord opened this door I came by faith.
Yes.
I didn't have any money. I didn't know many people. And the Lord just opened the door. And
that's okay. Now this is my godmother.
Oh,
constant, yeah.
Leaving behind past failures who haven't failed in life. We all have. But you can't hold yourself on the past failures. Do you know that the past failures, they were just there to educate you of what you don't have to do? You have to continue.
Okay, so those people helped raise me from all the way to the age of 6. You know, they were pivotal. Like my first memories was her holding me in her arms and her singing like Jesus loves you and stuff like that. So she was always praying over me since I was little. She was always telling me that, Mark, someday you'll be the mighty warrior. Like she would always say. So I grew up with them and their sons, 2 sons and 2 daughters. Mm-hmm. And one of her sons, Brian, he was always singing, all the time. And he would annoy the shit out of me because he would sing every commercial that came on TV. I'm like, dude, it's a commercial. Why are you singing that, bro? Like, stop. And then here he is today. Did you ever watch The Voice?
I have watched The Voice before, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is him?
This is from The Voice. This is him now.
Easy go, that's just how you live. Won't take it all, but you never give. Should have known you was trouble from the first kiss. Had your eyes wide open. Why were they open?
Okay, Bruno.
Gave you all I had and you tossed it in the trash. Tossed it in the trash, you did. To give me all your love was all I ever asked.
Yes.
Cause what you don't understand is I got a grenade for you. Throw my
That's
hand
him.
on a
That's him now.
blade for you.
Why haven't they turned around?
What's that?
They should have turned around.
Yeah, no, they did. He was in first team he was on was Adam Levine's team, and then he got onto Pharrell's team. Maybe it's Pharrell's, and then anyways, that's
He's incredible.
Yeah, and I used to be so annoyed at him singing as a kid. I'm like, yo, stop singing the commercials, bro. Like, but then I look at him now, man. I can't get enough of his voice. So he's a pastor of a church now, like in
why not?
So yeah. So anyways, that was going back to nationalism, like you were saying. I wanted to can I read a piece of what you sent me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's read it. All right. I am forever indebted to Palestine. Its suffering re-engaged my empathy. Its people restored my resistance. Its faith redesigned my spirituality. Palestine is a tie that binds us all together to a neocolonial project of white power, and yet so many fail to see how they are tied to it. They say confidently, that's happening over there. We need to focus on what's happening over here, not realizing that that there is no over there when you're everywhere. The United States is an operation of omnipresent opposition. It is literally a parasitic power that with tentacles leeching from all corners of the globe, in Congo for minerals and Sudan for gold. So that was absolutely talk about like how Palestine liberated us. Like, I've never felt more free in my entire life since I got involved in this movement. I have never felt more unleashed, where I can be who I want to be. I can say what the fuck I want to say.
You know why? And it sucks, but because you can't even argue. Because the line of fact and fiction is so clear and sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And because there is no gray area of like, oh, but it is what it is. They are genociding these people, and they have been. Like, I think the freedom comes in the fact that there's no corners to hide behind to try to escape from calling the truth out. So people like us who are truth seekers, truth translators, etc., we find comfort in the fact that it is late. It's all out in the open. You can't refute it. And those who even make that attempt, it's not even an argument, like we know that we are not having some type of intellectual back and forth. At the end of the day, we know that we're dealing with a person who may not even be fully human, the way I look at it at this point. So I know for me, that's where a lot of the freedom has come, because it clarified so many gray areas and blurred lines in a very definitive way. It clarified what this government is, in that it's two wings of the same bird. It clarified that we are actually connected all across this world. It's not just what's happening over here. It clarified for me faith. It helped me to find a spiritual path. And though I don't subscribe to organized religion, it did bring me and put me on a spiritual path. It helped me even to clarify my own mental health struggles, because Palestine was so, it is so raw, right? And it is so, what's the word I'm looking for? It really just was such unfettered pain coming at me every day, that it really got to the core of like, okay, so you need to like actually deal with your mental health. Like, you can't just like work it out. Like, you can't just like do exercises or whatever. I eventually had to get on Lexapro, because it was like, I can't like manage this. But I think that many people were managing by disengaging. And I felt like if I have to disengage, then I am not actually managing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm actually just
because what if it was happening like right outside your door?
Yeah, like I'm just
like what's the difference? What's the difference between it happening over in Gaza as opposed to happening right outside? Either way, it's happening. It's just there's only like miles in between it, so it doesn't. Yeah, I hear you saying.
So like I had to just, kind of, I had to write that piece to speak about how Ressa really also exposed for me the lies I was telling myself about my own safety in the United States, right? I was also giving way too much credit to these people that are quote unquote political leaders in their ability to do things from a genuine position. There is nothing genuine about those positions, right? Like
Absolutely.
that. At one point I found myself trying to like go into being someone who creates content that platforms politicians. I remember a friend of mine, actually, he's not even a friend; he's more just an acquaintance. But you never know where the gems are going to drop from. And we were chit chatting, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about creating a show where I platform politicians." And he was like, "Platform politicians? Politicians don't need any platforming." Mm-hmm. And he used to work with the Obama administration, so he knows. And he was like, "Nah, like." That is a complete waste of your time because they are not doing anything other than trying to get on platforms, but they're not actually platforming anything significant for the people. Yeah. And so it would be like these little droplets of information that were only coming my way because of what was taking place in Palestine. So I will be forever grateful to the ways in which I was awakened and also the ways in which I was reconnected to the Black radical tradition, because that has been the mainstay from Malcolm to Joy James to June Johnson to even the Southern Christian, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was writing about John Lewis and them were writing about Palestine in like 1966 in their newsletter, right? My grandma, I found a journal from my grandma where she was writing about Palestine right before the 1967 war.
This is why, like, this is why, like, last year when I saw some racist shit popping up, in the Palestine movement, not the Palestine movement as a whole, but like, you saw some shit pop up. I was like, I think I set a reminder, like, Palestine movement would not even have a chance in this nation if it wasn't for Black people. Like, watch your fucking tone. Like, like that was something that, and people did a great job at squashing that shit.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very impressed with the Palestine movement, because people have been very vigilant at squashing that racist shit, because like they wouldn't have a chance in hell. They wouldn't even have any type of platform here in the United States if it wasn't for the forefathers of the Black radicalized movements who brought them in the conversation. They wouldn't even be in the American conversation. So that's why I none of us should put up with that shit at all. Squash it 100% if you see it, And there's a lot of psyops to divide, put
absolutely,
and we saw it coming. And guess what? We handled it. We handled those people that were trying to do that shit. And that's what revolution is all about. We have to evolve, and we have to constantly be vigilant about these different psyops and like shoot them out of the sky.
I talk about that in What Would the Ancestors Say, in the fact that we have to evolve back into empathy, or forward into empathy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think a lot of the reason why I talk about this in the forward, that I believe a lot of the reason why the resistance practices or the resistance movements, particularly of Black people in the United States, haven't been able to really gain accomplish the goals that they originally set out to, is because we were literally taken from our land, from our families, and from our gods. And so we were stripped of that which connects us to the grounding foundational principles that we can keep coming back to. So when we're having these resistance movements, they end up being connected to things that are very frivolous, like just being a part of the United States, which is a frivolous ass place. It's not grounded in getting to something very real, and it's not driven by that because we don't have it. So we have to recreate it. We have to instill, we have to find it and refine it. And I believe that comes with us reconnecting with the ancestry that has come before, that lives within us. And that's what this piece, that's what this work, that's what this book is all about, is really, and this, we're recording this 2 days after Dia de los Muertos. There's no shortage of this thought process taking place across so many ethnicities and cultures and nations across the globe. So this is not some like, oh, Amanda, you coming up with something unique. No, but it is unique in the context of the United States. We do not honor wisdom. We actually make a point of shutting it down. We do not protect our elderly. We do not herald our elderly. And we saw so much wisdom leave us in 2020. Like in COVID, we physically lost so much knowledge. And now you have this joke of an administration that is literally idiots at the wheel. And it's very scary to me. And so I say all that to say that this is not simply just like a play or a book or a performance. It is, for me, a political teaching / spiritual strategy for revolution.
Absolutely. Can I read another quote?
Yes.
The ancestral names we love to call on: Toni Morrison, Malcolm X, James Baldwin, Martin Luther King Jr., Jordan, Fred Hampton, the Black Panthers, and the SNCC, the Nation of Islam, all have ardently opposed the apartheid and the occupation of Palestine because they understood. They, like we, who continue their Black radical legacy, understand what Zionism is, that Zionism is racism. We understand that we're up against the same enemy. We understand that the knee hold that cops use to murder George Floyd on that Minneapolis street was taught to him by Israeli soldiers. We understand that our tax dollars are being used to starve and kill a people we have no beef with. Yeah, absolutely. The imperial boomerang is going to be used against us. And
I mean, we're literally talking about SNAP benefits not being like, they're literally using the same tactics of starvation right now.
Yeah. Drones, the Palantir, it's all coming home to roost. And you brought up, I saw a video, I think you collabed me in it, about Zionism, how Zionism is a whole new evolution of racism.
That's what I believe.
So I had this epiphany like a few days ago. I was in bed and I was thinking about white supremacy. Really, I've been really focusing on white supremacy lately, like just analyzing. And something just like, I had this insane revelation. We're going to be seeing some really interesting shit. And I'll kind of like summarize it like this. We are about to see a war among white supremacists. And because here's what's interesting about white supremacy. Zionism is a form of white supremacy.
However,
see, white supremacists, okay, take your standard white supremacy.
It's still Jewish supremacy though.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there. So you take your standard white supremacy. They look down on anybody who's not white. Fairly simple, pretty cut and dry, right? You're not white. You're the other. You're subordinate, whatever. Okay, but white supremacists, your average white supremacist, are now at the they're on the other side. They are now the ones being looked down upon by an ideology that sees itself as even more supremely white.
Correct.
So this is your Ashkenazi, Judeo supremacy, which is Zionism. I just want to say right off the bat, most Jews are not at all Zionists. In fact, they're mostly agnostic. They're mostly atheists. They don't subscribe to that. In fact, most Ashkenazi Jews don't even know that they're Ashkenazi Jews. If you were to do a DNA test of white people, you would find that a large chunk of white people have Ashkenazi DNA in them or have ancestry, right?
But if you ask folks, do you think Israel should exist? And they say, yes, that is Zionism.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the question is, what percentage of Ashkenazi Jews would say that? We don't know, because polling is a form of propaganda. We have no idea what the metrics are on that, like in reality, because Israel will tell you that, and AIPAC will tell you that 90% of Jews in America support Israel.
Right.
Definitely not. So that being said,
I can name two that don't, but the large number
of them do.
Well, I also
especially ones that go to synagogue. Just like people who go to church.
Yes.
Most people go to church will support Israel. Most people go to synagogue will support Israel. It's just standard organized religion used as a manipulating tool by empire. So that being said, though, okay, so here you have this interesting scenario where you got white supremacists now being looked down upon by a form of ideology that sees even white people who are not Ashkenazi Jewish as being inferior.
Correct.
So here's where this is going to get really fucking interesting. The hatred that white supremacists, your average cut-of-the-mill white supremacist, is going to have for Zionism is, in my theory, is it's going to exceed any hatred they have for anybody else, whether it be black people, Mexicans, Muslims, whatever.
Well, yeah, because now they're mad that they're being usurped, that they're like on the bottom.
And they're realizing that racism and white supremacy might have been a Zionist psyop. Zionism has been around since the 1800s, I believe, 1820s, whatever. Okay, that's around a time period where white supremacy started to become very much defined and ingrained and kind of like, you know, I mean, it was before that too, but I mean, that was when it started to be like on paper, right? In my opinion, I think, where it was like that, like whites. So if white supremacists start to realize that Zion, and I'll just quote the billionaires at that time period, your oligarchs at that time period in the 1820s, they knew that by creating the definition of whiteness, it was a way of stripping these European migrants of any type of indigeneity they had in like Ireland and Scotland and Germany and, you know, Norway. It strips them of their indigeneity, strips them of their cultures, these very beautiful cultures like Celtic culture and things like that.
Well, let me step in though, because whiteness was not simply just having white skin.
Yeah.
So you didn't get stripped of your culture. You chose to give it up to serve whiteness.
Absolutely.
Right? Because
you took on this.
Italians were not considered white. It's, you know, Irish were not considered white. And then there was somewhat of a spoken, unspoken, well, if you do this, if you come and, you know, partake in these particular spaces of commerce, etc., now you would have access into our world. But
you're
that also
into the club of whiteness.
But then you have to protect it. And that is something that's happening with the black bourgeoisie. Like the black bourgeoisie are 100% being brought into these spaces where, for what it's worth, they'll still never be seen as equal, right?
Yeah.
Like, remember JFK, they still were like, yeah, but he's Catholic. Yeah, I mean, like there's always something. And so there's always been that kind of like asterisk, because it's very much like, we're just using you. Absolutely. You know, we're just using you, like you said before, like we're using you until you're not useful.
Let's talk about that fucker LBJ. This is a quote from him. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. Now, here's a question. Was LBJ saying that to lament this and as like was it a quote of empathy for this happening? No. LBJ said this to brag about it. See, a lot of people think that this quote from LBJ was him saying, "Oh, LBJ, he got it." Like, no, LBJ was saying that because he used to use this tactic in Texas. And I'm like, that should tell. So white supremacists, like what I want to talk to them about is I'm going to start going on a mission to go talk to them more. Actually,
okay.
I'm going to infiltrate. I'm going to go in. I'm going to get in them and I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to be like, look, you realize that white supremacy is a psyop by Zionist bankers who want to separate you from your black and brown brothers and sisters who, if you allied with, you would overthrow them and fuck them up and then take back what they stole from all of us. Don't you want to be a fucking millionaire? Don't you want a big house? You have to take it. You're going to have to band up with everybody else. And we're going to have, like that. That's because most of white supremacy, as far as like you're uneducated, is based on, it's predatory. White supremacy is predatory. It preys on.
I wouldn't say that it's a complete psyop as much. I think
it's not a complete psyop as far as like its cultural
I agree.
thing.
Well, I agree with it being used as a psyop. Like there was already white supremacy. At the onset of the 1500s and the effort to begin even the concept of chattel slavery, right?
I mean, I even say that the Greeks and a lot of other cultures used it.
They definitely.
It goes back.
But theirs wasn't because they were white. It was like, we're Greek.
Well,
right?
Greek, yeah, it's nationalism, you know. Now if you have nationalism tends to have like a consistent like skin tone to it, then that becomes like,
I mean, it's saying it without saying it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like if you read this book by Nell Pinter, The History of White People, she talks about that. And she doesn't take a stance in the book. She just gives you a historical play-by-play of the history of white people. And
which are Irish, that like phenotypes.
Yeah.
There was a time where Irish did have like a phenotype to it, and you can sometimes tell who's Germanic and who's white, who, you know, whatever, back in the day, and so there was that, oh, he's not really white, he's Irish, like you said, you know, so there is, no. Yeah, but go ahead, sorry.
Peaky Blinders. And somebody's right now saying, no, they're from Birmingham. No, they live in Birmingham. Yeah. They were Irish, quote unquote, gypsies. Their words, not mine. Their words, not mine. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
That's my Peaky Blinders hat.
I started like 3 episodes of that. I didn't get further.
How could you not?
I know. Look, I know. Everybody says that. We're gonna get on it. I'm gonna get on it. I'm gonna
nobody fucks with the Peaky fucking Blinders.
Stop fucking fighting.
I need to go back and watch it. Damn.
Yeah.
I've rewatched Peaky Blinders 3 times. Now I'm watching Andor. I'm rewatching Andor, and it's just making
my god! Don't get me started on Andor.
It's just getting me like. Then you see me talking about like I'm going on a mission.
Andor, holy shit! Like it shouldn't even have the Disney label on it. It's nothing like a Disney movie.
I am shocked that they let this thing ride,
dude. That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's not what's what I'm looking for. They're not slick about the messaging. It is very loud and very in the face.
It is straight up the entire philosophy of resistance in a series. And what drives it.
Series. So not even a film. So that means it gets to be broken down even deeper.
It's so gritty. Like I was like, because I lost hope in like the Star Wars franchise after like that fucking those trilogies that were released. Like and then I'm like, man, it's Disney-fied. It's Disney-fied.
It did get Disney-fied. It did.
And then I saw Andor. I'm like, how did y'all get away with what?
Well, so I went to see Rogue One begrudgingly because that was the first Disney movie, right? And then they did Solo, and then they did something else, and I was just like, this is a money grab, but fine. And it was like a weekend. I know it was like a weekday at like 2:00, and I had nothing to do, so I was like, fine, I'll just go see it because I had a movie theater really close to my house.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen was in Rogue One. I was like, yo, wait.
Rogue One was pretty good.
Rogue One was so good. And then you find out that Andor is the prequel to Rogue One. And you lucky lot that are listening, if you've never watched Andor, you get to watch it straight through to Rogue One, and it all makes sense. And the characters they were able to get the same actors, so it's the same thread. Oh my goodness, it's very good. So I'm literally watching that in Game of Thrones right now. So I'm in a certain particular state of mind.
And it will motivate you for revolution. Like
that's
we all need like artistic motivations. It's just part of revolution. Revolution has to contain all the elements. It has to contain art,
brings
music,
me back to the book.
Yes,
because I do have to go because I have to teach an art class. I have to go teach an art class to children at a community center.
Okay. Fine.
Today we're going to be doing Dia de los Muertos designs.
Right. Okay, so
that was such a genuine. No,
dude, I should have asked you how much time I had with you before we started. Damn.
I mean, it's been 2 hours. That's fair.
It doesn't feel like
I know.
Whatever.
We literally started at 1:30.
It's 1:45. Okay, it's been 1:45, so that's not technically 2 hours. Okay. Damn, there's so much I want to cram in. Anyways, so I want to at least cram this in. So I was been thinking about, I think I told you on your podcast, I with snap cuts, all that, everything going on, it sounds like bad news, and it is bad news. A lot of people are going to suffer. However, the goal here is to make us suffer, to make us desperate, so then they will offer solutions. We already know where this is going. However, I think that it's a gamble they're playing, because if we play it smart and we actually take advantage of this moment and start forming local community power
Correct.
structures,
Yep.
we can prove to ourselves and show them we don't
Yes.
need you, and we
Correct.
can do it. We can take care of us better than you can take care of us. Like
this is why I'm
Panthers
teaching
did.
a class at a community center.
Absolutely.
Literally.
So I am pushing the 4 Winds approach to revolution, which I sent you. We're going to be launching a very aggressive media campaign to get people to adopt this plan in their local neighborhood.
Okay.
And
how can I be of service?
No, you absolutely can be of service. I want to brainstorm with you how we can push this plan, because right now it's just a document and it's 2-dimensional. I need to make it come to life somehow. And I need people to do this, experiment with it, because the Black Panthers were in an experimental phase right now, meaning they're very much scientific. They use a scientific method, and we're going to start experimenting with things to see what works. And they so far like this plan that when I submitted it to them, and they said, okay, let's get on this. Let's start pushing it. But we need people to start experimenting with it and see if it works. And I want y'all, if there's some people who would be volunteers to go try this plan out, send me video of you actually doing it to use for propaganda purposes to show people.
I want to. So after my show every Wednesday, Views from Amandaland, we have an after show kickback with just my Patreon community.
Okay.
And PsyOps, I know you're already there. So I mean, Ops, I already know you're there, so it's fine. But basically, I would like for you to come into that space as well, because those are the people who do this and who want to do this. They're like scratching at a post, like, please give me something that can make me, you know? And so I would love for you to come in our after show kickback. I mean, of course, I would like for you to come on the show, but also to come in the after show kickback, because I think it could be, because now you're on a Zoom, so people can ask you direct questions, you know what I mean? Which is different than just being like on an interview where they're in the chat. You can actually like talk back and forth. So let's set that.
Let's do it. Yeah, send me the info. Whatever you need.
The info.
Before we leave, to go back on the war, the white supremacist war, I have receipts that it's already happened, that it's actually full blown.
Well, I told you that I really believe that the Zionists are absolutely going to try to topple, like they're going to try to usurp. I've said that 3 times in this episode, the United States. Like they're the ones with the sleeper cells. We know that every accusation they make is an actual confession. So if they're talking about sleeper cells, it's because they've had sleeper cells. And we know that. I come from Hollywood. I had no idea that I was living amongst and working amongst Zionists. I knew there were a lot of Jewish people, but I had no idea what the concept of Zionism was, you know, what the actual like nefarious duplicitousness of Zionism was. And so I didn't realize that I was in a shark infested swamp of people who really do not have humanity among them. Like they are really like bereft of morality and ethics. So I believe that that's what's going to happen. I think that they are getting stronger and stronger every day, and they are building up these white supremacists to make them think that they got, you know, they got support and they got all the power, and then they're going to flip the script. And
we're already seeing the desperation amongst Zionists to keep the
oh my God, this is crazy.
This shit is crazy, but I actually like it because it's showing the desperation. Let's play it. This is Mark Levine.
You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick. Now, I don't need more than 15 minutes. The cowards. We're surrounded by cowards who have microphones, who have TV cameras, who have websites, who have columns. Cowards. It's spelled C-A-R-L-S-O-N. It's F-U-E-N-T-E-S. It's spelled O-W-E-N-S.
Wow.
It's spelled Marjorie Trader Green. You can figure that out yourself.
Okay, so this is...
I have not seen this.
This is hilarious. This is the white supremacist war. This is
Whoa.
this is Zionism lashing out and being like, if you want, we can't have our racist spaces invaded by anti-Israel people. It's like, let me tell you, here's the subtext. We cannot have people who are anti-Israel invading our white supremacist spaces.
Literally.
White supremacy and Zionism, we're hand in hand. Stay together, guys. And it's not working because the white supremacists on the other side being like, we hate you more than we've ever hated anybody of color or anything like that.
I was gonna say, they have always hated Jewish people. Like, that's been, when they was at Charlottesville and they were saying they won't replace us, they were talking about Jewish people.
Right. So this is the war, and this is not bad news. This is actually opportunity. Everything holds opportunity, and we as revolutionaries need to always look for the chinks in the armor instead of just cowering in fear and doom and gloom. And the best person to keep that motivation up is watch her podcast, read her book, and if you're going to be showing up in LA, I'll be there.
I'll be on the road. I'll be on the road. So I'll be in San Diego.
Because of you. Because of you, and because you invited me on your podcast, we are now starting a Black Panther chapter in Los Angeles. And I'll tell you how you had something to do with it, because somebody who watches your show, black girl who just got out of the Air Force, recognized me at a rally because I was going through a lot of dark stuff when I was worried about Greg. So I said, I need to get out of the house. I went to an LA rally. She recognized me and said, hey, I saw you on Amanda Seals. I want to know how I can get involved with the Panthers. And I said, well, do you want to form a chapter with me? You form a Black Panther chapter, I'll form a Panther chapter, because we have to go this time. I can't form a Panther chapter unless there's already a Black Panther chapter. That's how it works. We go hand in hand. We always roll together. And she said, yeah, sure. So we're now going to be starting a Black Panther chapter and a Panther chapter in Los Angeles because of you. So I'll be showing up with her. We'll be showing up together. She's a huge fan of you.
I'm putting my own applause.
All right.
To hear that. So wait, I have to say this. Go to amandaseals.com, get your tickets to the live stream. Also, the book will be available on November 8th, and I will be on the road doing book talks and signings, and I would love to see you all out there. So again, go to amandaseals.com to find out when I'll be in your city. I will be in San Diego on November 6th. I'll be in Seattle on November 10th, Detroit on November 11th, Chicago on the 12th. It looks like I'll be in New Orleans on December 11th. I'll be in DC on December 2nd. And so we're still working out dates for other places, and really just trying to bring something of value to you all while also supporting myself with my brain. So let's do it. Absolutely. Well, it's sometimes you just need to have a long 2-hour session with a friend and decompress. Like not everything has to be analytical or news. No, I just need a friend. I just need a friend today to talk to and decompress with. So it's been great. Mental health. Yes. As always, love you, fan. Thanks for tuning in. Go follow her. All the links that she just said are going to be in the description. As always, love you. Bye, guys. Thank you.